Tonight on Haunted Homes, we investigate a house in Lincolnshire and reports of disturbing paranormal activity.
I wouldn't open my eyes at all because I just didn't want to see anything there.
The family say they're fighting for their house with a ghostly previous owner.
It frightened me quite a bit, actually.
And it's tearing them apart.
If she stayed, we'd all split up or the house would be sold.
Can psychic Mia Dolan help the Stevens?
Who's moved the pillows?
I could just see an outline of a face and of a body.
You don't look too good, Bob. You all right? Freezing. She's here.
In the 21st century, more of us in Britain believe in ghosts than believe in God. In one recent survey, 68% of people questioned expressed a belief in the paranormal, so-called phantoms, ghouls, and even things that go bump in the night. Tonight, we investigate an ordinary home in Lincolnshire. The family who live there say their lives are being made a misery by an unwanted female guest.
Bob Stevens, a member of the Royal Air Force, and Shelley Stevens, a staff nurse, live with their two children, Daniel, 13, and Alicia, 9. But their new family home in Lincolnshire has turned into the house from hell. After 15 years of marriage, living in RAF married quarters, Shelley and Bob finally bought and renovated their first home.
It was a very old house, lots of character. I'd been looking at loads of magazines, House Beautiful and things, and thought, yeah, I can do some of this, so let's go for it.
It's a lovely house, it's a beautiful house, and it's put a lot of blood and tears into it.
Things started to go wrong even before they moved in. Bob was stationed away from home, and Shelley had to start the renovation work alone.
Because Bob was initially away when we first started the renovation of the project, I thought it would be a good idea to take photographs just to keep a scrapbook of all the hard work we've done in the place.
But the Stevens believe that one of the photographs revealed two ghostly faces that couldn't be explained.
When I picked out the faces for the first time, I was just gobsmacked, and it really did freak me out.
It was those shadow-like impressions looking out from the upstairs window that convinced Shelley and her friends that she had a visitor in the house.
The first two photographs in the scrapbook were of outside of the house. And as soon as I opened the scrapbook and looked, she was just there. I just saw her straight away, looking out of the top window in the middle of the house and a child underneath. The majority of people can pick these faces out as clear as anything.
We just thought, oh, we might have a ghost here.
It frightened me quite a bit, actually.
More frightening things were to come when they claim one of the ghostly figures started to appear in their bedroom at night.
The lady, I've actually seen her. I woke up in the morning, both my husband and I sort of had a bad night's sleep, and I said, yeah, she was in the room. She's been stood at the end of my bed.
Bob says he saw her too.
The following morning, she mentioned it to me, and I said, yeah, she was standing in that corner, and she said, yeah, that's exactly where she saw her as well.
Shelley and Bob claim that one of the ghosts had worryingly started to talk to their children. He'd introduced himself as Michael.
My daughter, Alicia, has spoken to Michael Young at night in bed. She sat up and played with him, and eventually she turns around and says, please go away now, Michael, leave me alone.
With a name put to one spectral face, what about the other?
We've called the lady Mabel, which puts the children at ease a little bit more.
But the Stevens claim they've had an even more chilling experience with Mabel.
My wife was woken one night by sort of a breathing sensation being on her face.
It was kind of in a circular motion. It frightened me, it woke me up, and I just turned over. I wouldn't open my eyes at all because I just didn't want to see anything there.
According to the Stevens, the paranormal activity wasn't just contained to the upstairs in the dead of night. Downstairs, chairs, they say, were mysteriously shifting positions. Latches on doors moved on their own. And the radio would switch itself on and off or change channel for no earthly reason. And it didn't stop there.
One of the other big experiences we've had in the house has been the light switch in the dining room. It kept blowing.
This may seem like a simple wiring problem, but some believe that electrical faults are often associated with paranormal activity.
We've actually taken everything out, the metalwork, which goes into the brickwork, rewired it all up. The electricians had a look at it, there's no problems with it, no explanation. Decided to go and speak to the padre at work, and he said yes, he'll come out and bless the house. And he went into my daughter's bedroom, which at that point we were having a lot of problems with the young boy ghost, and he asked to be left alone for an hour. He felt a strong presence in that room, and he blessed the room. Since that day we haven't had any contact with the boy, so we think, or hopefully, he's gone.
After what they claim was a successful blessing by the padre, Bob felt more comfortable about leaving Shelley and the children alone at night.
A few weeks ago, Bob was out working one night and Daniel and I were sat in the lounge. Alicia was in bed and we heard a scream upstairs. And she was shouting to me, "Mum, Mum, she's in my bedroom, please get her out, I can't go in there." Daniel and I looked at each other and thought, oh no, we're going to have to go investigate this. So we both went upstairs together, but by the time I got there, there was nobody there. But now Alicia will not go to sleep unless the bedroom light's on in my room, which shines a little bit into her room.
We gave Bob and Shelley a camera in the run-up to our expert's visit to make a video diary so they could let us know how they were feeling and what was happening in the house.
It was 12:45. I've given up on the film. I started watching it and I felt very uneasy. Probably for the last hour and a half, something was watching me from the living room door by the front of the house. It got very cold. In the end, I sod this, I'm going to bed. I haven't felt right at all tonight.
I've really had enough of this. What with the bangs at night, disturbances, sounds like people's walking up the stairs, we have restless nights, sleepless nights. We're totally fed up. Objects get moved. I can't even listen to the radio on my own. I do worry for the children because you can't explain really what's going on apart from that there is somebody in the house and I can't get rid of her.
If she stays and doesn't go, one of two things would happen. We'd all split up or the house would be sold.
Bob and Shelley Stevens say they feel like they're literally living in a nightmare and they're desperate for help. Now armed with photographic evidence of the ghost that they say has so drastically altered their family's life, they've turned to haunted homes for help. So what is it that's disturbing their family life so much? Well, our team of experts are determined to find out.
Mia Dolan, one of Britain's most sought-after psychics, heads up the team.
A psychic is somebody who covers all areas of the paranormal. It's a paranormal consultant. My job is to pull the spirit in. I act as if like a magnet, so I drag it to me and hold it. It's actually my guide that takes it over. A guide is a guardian angel, or whatever name you want to give it, everyone's got one. Mine's called Eric. It's Eric that opens a door to the other side.
One of the techniques Mia uses is a spiritual practice called psychometry.
Psychometry is picking up information from objects. If somebody's held something a lot, or used something, or worn something, it's going to soak up the vibe anyway. It's a great way to get a feel of a property you're going to. It's like the first clues.
Mia studies some of the Stevens' most treasured belongings to get information about the family. Two objects are of particular interest to her.
The ring. Looks like an engagement ring. The woman that wears this has been very stressed and worried. It's the first slight negative we're getting. Now the crucifix, it's been blessed. It's got its own energy field around it, and I see a bed, so it's in a bedroom. It's to protect. It's very strong, and the fact that that's here sends my alarm bells ringing because they must be feeling very vulnerable. They've obviously tried a number of things to feel safe again. My sense from these objects is that the family are very loving, but being splintered apart by something they can't see, and they've tried different ways of trying to sort it out. It's not been happening. I'm very interested in seeing what's going on in this house.
Psychic Mia Dolan claims that just 20% of the people who contact her about hauntings genuinely have a ghost in their homes. But having examined the Stevens possession, she's now convinced that their fears are for real. Psychics and clairvoyants believe that they have a sensitivity that enables them to pick up on the good and the bad in any home. So what will Mia and the team find in this house? According to some believers, it's not unusual for spirits to want investigators out and to do whatever it takes to get them out.
What will Mia uncover when she finally visits the house?
Did you move it?
I've not touched it.
Bob, you all right? Easy. I've just seen someone in the door.
Scared and at their wits' end, Bob and Shelley Stevens are convinced that their home is being haunted by a malicious female ghost. They've nicknamed her Mabel in an attempt to avoid upsetting their children any more than they are already. That's obviously a difficult job. They are desperate to get rid of whatever it is that's haunting their home. So is it a genuine ghost or just a figment of the family's imagination? Well, our investigation team will spend the next 48 hours finding out.
Mia has been driven to the Stevens house. She has no knowledge of its location or of the Stevens themselves. In the psychometry, the crucifix led Mia to understand that there'd been a previous exorcism in the house, which means she's sure that she's got something tricky on her hands.
It's a very strange feeling of like pulling out and coming back. Like there's a vacuum situation going on. Like two things trying to be in the same space. This must be the living room. Recently, changes have been made. Somebody doesn't like these changes. Something doesn't like what's being done. There's a great sense of ownership, a battle of ownership. It's always interesting on the stairs, because as you go upstairs, you start to feel the energies change in a house. Either it gets better or it gets worse. And it gets worse as we come upstairs. This is, odd. That breathless feeling. The window, this is where somebody's been seen looking out the window, standing by the window, looking back at the bed.
Without prior knowledge, Mia has found the spot where the family claimed the ghost stood.
Okay. Girl's bedroom, very bright, cheerful. Breathe very well. It's a feeling. I keep wondering if this place has ever had a fire in it. It's very much that feeling when panics, smoke, can't breathe. And I can hear screaming. The strongest feeling after looking around the house is that two separate realities are trying to sit in the same place and they're fighting against each other. The reality of now and a long time ago.
Mia is accompanied by our very own paranormal investigator, Mark Webb.
People do believe that when a spirit is present, you will get a drop in temperature. I've had these on numerous occasions in numerous locations. There's no real scientific explanation as to why this occurs.
Skeptic Chris French, Professor of Paranormal Psychology, will look for a rational explanation.
If there was any possibility of some kind of genuine paranormal activity, then I really want to be in there, I want to witness it, I want to be able to say that I've seen that with my own eyes. But I must admit, I'm not really expecting that to happen.
Mark and Chris arrive to tour the house. Bob shows them what's been going on downstairs.
That light switch, for about 8-9 months, it just kept blowing.
Be worth sticking some EMF meters in there, see what we get.
The EMF meter will tell Mark whether the problem with the switch is electrical or paranormal. Upstairs, Shelley is waiting to show them where the apparition is said to have appeared.
This is obviously mine and Bob's room. What happened in here was I woke up in the middle of the night and visualised there was a figure stood in front of my drawers there. Just an outline of Mabel.
Just an outline?
No
details? Just...
No, I could just see an outline of a face and of a body just stood in front of my chest of drawers.
Now that all the experts have toured the house, it's time for Mia, our psychic, to meet the family. First of all, she talks through the results of the psychometry.
Yeah.
Crucifix. Powerful crucifix. Powerful, being blessed. When I was walking around here, it was a religious feeling. It was like I don't know, priest been here, or it's a real strong religious feeling, and that crucifix works have been done on it.
We've had a padre in here.
Yeah.
He's done a blessing, which settled things down for a little while.
Mia correctly picked up that a priest had already blessed the house. Now it's time for her to reveal her findings.
Coming up the stairs, my heart started to race. That's always a sign of things are getting stronger. As I got to the landing, that was the worst place for me. As if something was wrong. The whole structure of the house was wrong, and I didn't know why it was wrong. Then I went into your room, and somebody's been there looking out the window. When I say somebody, I mean ghost. And the bottom of your bed has to have been activity. Went across to your daughter's room, and I had a bad feeling. I did hear screaming, and smoke, smells, burning. As I came out of there, it was like there must have been a fire. Tell me why the house feels different at the top of the stairs. Why does it feel off balance?
Because there's a doorway here. And I think that the stairs originally went that way.
I think you've got a situation here where some spirit energy person that has lived before in this property is trying to keep it theirs and does not like what you've done to the property. We've awoken it, if you like, with the renovations, and now we've got to try and get rid of it.
Mia's findings support the family's story.
I feel concerned because the previous couple before us went happy. Maybe she doesn't want anybody being here.
It's now reinforced that what I have felt is true, and there's something else in this house, and I don't feel right now. I don't feel right at all.
Every room I go to, there's something there, there's some feeling, there's some movement. So tonight, we'll be hunting for it rather than sitting and waiting for it.
One house, 3 experts and 1 terrified family. Now armed with the evidence and testimony of the Stevens family, our experts are ready to stage a vigil held during the dead of night. It should provide ideal conditions to establish whether or not there's paranormal activity.
It's time for Mark to set up his equipment.
We've been told numerous stories about activity that they've experienced. Quite a bit of it seems to revolve around the electricity in the house, the light switch blowing, the hi-fi turning up and down. So during the vigil, I would actually like to place an EMF meter into the dining area, see if we can pick something up, some sort of reading to give an explanation as to what's going on there.
The problem with the switch is just one of the paranormal phenomena in the house. Mark sets up cameras and audio equipment to record any other events. With all this potential, even Chris, our skeptic, is excited.
Maybe that there's some kind of unusual electromagnetic field activity which has been shown to be associated with unusual subjective experiences, such as the kind that we've had reported.
Mark also sets up a thermal imaging camera which records temperature changes that some believe can indicate paranormal activity.
The family do claim to have had cold blasts going through that dining room, so hopefully the thermal imaging camera and the thermometers will both pick up on that, and we'll have some sort of verification on temperature changes in that area.
For tonight's vigil, we'll position static cameras in the living room and in the dining room where the vigil will begin, and also upstairs in Bob and Shelley's room. At 11:45 p.m, Mia, Mark and the Stevens take their places in preparation for the vigil. Skeptic Chris positions himself in the Winnebago, where he can view the proceedings via a monitor.
We'll start by settling down in this room, let the house settle, let it get dark. 3, 2, 1.
It's midnight, and with the lights off, it's time for the vigil to begin.
Everyone feeling okay?
Yeah. I could see through that doorway, now it's gone black.
Do you know, I just thought that.
Shelley and Mia have noticed that the doorway has darkened, a sure sign, some would say, that there's a presence looming. But the shift is too subtle for our cameras to detect.
Can't make out anything.
Like the whole's dark, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to ask, can anyone else see that human shape?
Oh, I'm not looking.
Yes, it's definitely interesting. To the right of the alcove, much nearer.
Meanwhile, the thermal imaging camera shows changes in temperature. Some believe that this is another indicator of paranormal activity.
Let's go upstairs, put your torch on.
Mia and Mark decide to investigate upstairs and leave Bob and Shelley alone in the dark. They make their way to the master bedroom, which is where the Stevens claim the apparition appears most often.
Oh, it's racing. Everything on me is starting to prickle up now. You know that feeling that it's coming.
Downstairs, it seems quiet, but Bob appears to be tense. Nothing seems to manifest itself in Bob and Shelley's room, so they decide to move on.
Okay. I think we'll be going to the daughter's room.
Yeah.
I think there's the most activity up here. Whoa, wobbly. I've just seen someone in the door.
Mia decides to check the landing. Could it be Mabel, the ghost?
No, it's not. There's no one else up here. Come stand here. I'm freezing here.
I mean, I just feel really warm all upstairs.
You can't feel warm.
Yeah.
And... bloody hell. You feel really warm.
Yeah.
Although Mark isn't feeling the shift in temperature, downstairs the Stevens change location and huddle under a blanket because they're so cold.
Are you cold? I am so cold, so cold. Upstairs, he's boiling hot. Especially in your daughter's bedroom.
Yeah.
It's freezing. Great.
With this realization, Mia works out that the phenomena is happening all over the house. The ghost could be anywhere. Mia decides to split them up and send Shelley to the Winnebago with Mark,
Right, better go up.
while she takes Bob upstairs.
Pictures all sent that.
As they settle upstairs, Bob is looking increasingly stressed.
Who's moved the pillows?
And Mia says that she's sure the pillows on the bed have moved.
Did you move that? I'm intrigued at how that pillow got moved.
Mia confirms her suspicion that the pillow couldn't have fallen over by itself.
That's what's happened. Going downstairs now. I want to see if Mark moved it.
Mia and Bob make their way downstairs. Bob immediately locates a cold patch.
Standing here, it's freezing. You walk through here, there's a cold patch just here.
That's cold, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite cold here.
Why is it so cold?
Mark and Shelley come back into the house to regroup, discuss what's happened and decide what to do next.
Did you see that pillow?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think that...
Did you move it?
I've not touched it. If you remember, I actually crouched down at the far end by the radiator.
That's the best bit of movement I've seen, but it's such a good bit of movement. It's just too good to be true, so... You don't look too good, Bob. You're all right. But you're the one who told me that's the cold spot. You're standing right in the cold spot. Move a few feet either way to see if it gets better.
Right, well, I've not felt cold at all.
Upstairs.
It's affecting everybody differently.
In light of the extreme temperature that Bob is feeling, Mia decides on an unusual course of action.
If you can cope with it, don't leave the room, because for some reason I'm now really getting warm. I know it sounds awful, but I want to see how cold you get. We're going to go upstairs and see if we can experience anything else.
But with Shelley, Mia sticks to the established routine and heads for the master bedroom.
Look in that corner. Does it look like something unusual in that corner? To me, it looks misty. Look at me just seeing it psychically.
That's where she was stood over there.
Was it?
Mia has picked out the corner in which Mabel has made her appearances.
Go through to your daughter's room.
Meanwhile, downstairs,
I'm freezing.
despite Mia asking Bob to stay in the house to monitor his temperature, too cold, he decides to join Chris in the Winnebago.
Did you move this pillow? This is really getting weird now. I even shone the torch over here to make sure that pillow hadn't... These pillows were okay. I didn't touch it, did I? I just walked in.
No, I didn't touch it.
I don't know what it's normally like, though, but I know it wasn't there, because... Was this up like this, normally?
No, it's not here.
So that's done exactly the same?
Yeah.
Where's the other one?
Mia is now convinced that there is a haunting and decides that it's time for Mark to go in, to check his equipment and verify her suspicions.
The lowest temperature we've had is 10.7 degrees Celsius, and the highest is 20.5. So we've actually got a variance there of 10 degrees. It's quite a substantial amount. Whilst in the home over the evening, I didn't actually personally feel any temperature changes at all. However, Mia and Bob and Shelley certainly did. They felt a lot colder at times. We just check the EMF meter.
The electromagnetic fluctuation meter is positioned in an area reported to have had electrical disturbances, which some believe signals paranormal activity.
That battery should last for 12 hours. The vigil certainly didn't last that long, yet the battery had drained itself.
Our skeptic Chris goes in alone to investigate.
Now, this is the room where I think probably most incidents were reported. I'm not getting any temperature changes. I'm not seeing any activity out there in the hallway. And the moral probably is that if you think you've got a haunted house, hire a skeptic, because that'll guarantee that you'll get no activity of any kind whatsoever.
Overall, I have to say, I wasn't convinced by anything that happened last night that there was any paranormal activity of any kind.
Despite Chris's scepticism, Mia believes that paranormal activity from the vigil means that it should be a very interesting clearing.
Whatever's here is powerful, it's strong, and it can go anywhere in the house. And if it's that strong, can I hold it?
But how did the Stevens feel?
After what was said last night, I'm a bit apprehensive, to be honest. What's going to happen?
I think if she doesn't go, would it be better that we moved on?
Throughout the vigil, our investigators came to differing conclusions about what happened. Mark Webb could offer no conclusive evidence after his batteries drained, something that believers say is often a sure sign of paranormal activity. Chris French is certainly still an ardent skeptic, but even he can't explain the battery failure. Meanwhile, Mia believes she saw a ghost on the landing, and also that she's convinced objects moved on the bed without a rational explanation. Mia says that all ghosts, good or bad, have to be moved on to the spirit world. Now, armed with all the evidence she needs, she says she has to summon the ghost and then face it before she can remove it from the family's home forever.
Mia attempts to summon the spirit into the room.
She can't get out of the house. She can't get out. She died upstairs. She's very confused, agitated. She wants to get out of the house.
Over hundreds of years, psychics, mediums and members of the clergy claim to have witnessed terrifying possessions of places, people and of homes. But despite that, they claim to have the power to be able to banish these spirits forever. Tonight, Mia says she'll be doing just that in a clearing ceremony. According to psychic belief, she will summon the ghost forward and send it over to the other side. But will this spirit listen?
The spirit claimed to inhabit the Stevens house seems elusive. Mia's abilities will be stretched.
Now, the hardest part in this house is to find it, because nearly every room in the house has had something going on. So we have to go searching for it. Let's get it done, okay?
The physical changes that the house has undergone may mean that Mia's search is that much harder.
Nothing there. Through to the other room. Nothing there. Going up. Going into your room. The room seems to be changing to me, your room. There's a door by the window, to the left of the window. The door's opening, and there's a woman there, hair pulled back off her face. And she's pointing to the window. She seems very agitated. She's trying to get my attention to the window. She's coming towards the door. It's very difficult to get her out. Come on. She's coming down the steps from your room on top of the stairs. She's coming down. She's coming through, standing by the main door into the lounge. Okay. She's here. She's wringing her hands as if she's agitated. And she can't get out of the house. She can't get out. And she couldn't get out. That's why she's talking about the windows upstairs. She died upstairs because she couldn't get out. I'm asking her now if there's fire. Was there fire? Because I smelt it. She's not answering me clearly, but yes, there was a fire. and there was a child, and she was... Okay, she is. She was worried about the child. She can't find the child. She had a child, she can't find the child. I think the child got out, and I think she thought it didn't. And that's why she didn't get over. That's why she wouldn't leave the house. And then she missed her time.
Just as Mia says that she's preparing to send the spirit over, something very strange happens.
It's like she's just gone right in front of me, so she hasn't gone over. Hold on a minute, we've got to try and find her again. She's not meant to do that. She's gone back in your room again, by the window. She's very confused, agitated. She wants to get out of the house. And she's now a bit not understanding, not reasonable, losing it a little bit, frightened, over the top, bringing her down the stairs. Come on, girl, come on. Who's coming through? Come on. Okay, I'm going to send her over. I won't be able to hold her much longer. De profundus clamave ad Deo Domini exaudi vocem.
Mia recites a Latin prayer said to help the soul pass over.
Sustenuit anima meae in verbo ejus, speravit anima meae in Domino. Just that amount of time, I thought I wasn't going to manage it. 80% of her was a nice night. Then all of a sudden, she was weird. Lost it. She was banging against the door, then went up to banging herself against the window, didn't want to come, agitated, getting angry. And that's not the nice side, that's the lost it, losing it, scary side.
Well done.
During the clearing, which takes Mia an intense 20 minutes, she claims to have interacted with the ghost that the family call Mabel. Now, she says that Mabel explained that she was distraught over the death of a child killed in a fire. Our researchers were unable to uncover any specific evidence to prove that account, but nevertheless, Shelley remains convinced by Mia's explanation.
1 month has passed since the clearing, but has life improved for the Stephens?
Since Mia was here, definitely certain that Mabel, as we called her, is now completely gone.
You lie in bed at night and it's too quiet. She's definitely gone, there's nothing left in this house.
But have the children noticed anything different?
The kids have both said the house feels quiet, and Alicia certainly has she plays in the bedroom more, not afraid to go upstairs on her own.
I'd like to thank Mia a tremendous amount for what she's done. It's a fresh start for us all to move on.
Bob and Shelley Stephens say they've got their home back and no longer have to share it with the ghost they called Mabel. For them, life is getting back to normal. But how many other families have to live with an unwanted guest? Are those noises at night your house settling down, or are they something else? Perhaps a spirit or spectre? Haunted homes, it appears, aren't just in horror movies. Perhaps tonight's evidence suggests that they're in streets like yours, occupied by families just like you. Sleep well. Good night.
Sunday at 9.
If you've got a secret, I mean like a really nasty one where someone died, then Mary sees it and punishes you for it. Whether you're the one that summoned her or not.
Scary secrets.
One story says she's a witch, another says she's a mutilated bride.
Supernatural on ITV2.